3.1, now we're getting into some serious geometry. We're going to be able to identify relationships between lines after this unit. A few concepts, they're very, very important. Parallel lines, I want to point out that parallel lines are coplanar lines, meaning they're always on the same plane and they never intersect. We use these symbols that symbol to express parallel line. And in a diagram, if we pretend that this is a diagram, these two lines are parallel because I put little arrows. Sometimes you see the arrows are solid like this. That means these two lines are parallel. Again, parallel lines are always on the same plane. Perpendicular lines are lines that intersect to form a triangle. And you've seen this. We use this symbol to denote that. Skew lines are a little bit more challenging to understand. If you think about a box, skew lines, and there's the edges in the back. The dotted line means the lines are there, but you don't see with your eyes. You can't really see it because it's hidden behind certain surfaces. Skew lines, by definition, are lines that are not on the same plane and they never intersect. So if I take this line in the back here on this cube, this line here, and then if I take this line here, see these two lines? They're on two separate planes. These two separate planes parallel to each other. They never intersect, but these two separate lines, they're not on the same plane and they will never intersect with each other. So those are called skewed lines. And be very careful with this one. Some people would say, okay, this one and this line, let's call this line A in the back here. These two are skewed because they are not on the same plane, even though it looks like they parallel. But think about it. If I cut this diagonally, if I cut this cube diagonally this way, and I therefore created a plane, there is an invisible plane there. And also, as soon as you say that these two lines appear to parallel, look at the definition of parallel lines. It says coplanar, they are on the same plane. If they're on the same plane, they cannot be skewed lines. So that black line, let me call that line B, is not skewed to line A, okay? Only this red part here, let's call that line C. And you can call this one line D. Those are skewed lines compared to, those are skewed lines. Let's see, parallel planes. If you understand parallel lines, you should know parallel planes. In my example here in this cube, the top side and the bottom side are parallel planes. The front side and the back side are parallel planes. They will never intersect. So I always think about my tabletop and the floors under the table. If my tabletop is intersecting with my floor, you know one of my children is in trouble because somebody tipped it over, right? Line perpendicular to a plane. So I like to think of a bottle of wine or a bottle of soda sitting straight on your table. So if your table surface is, this is your table surface, and you can have a pencil as well or a sword, and it goes into the table and then goes under the table, and I don't know, an arrow or something. So that's a line perpendicular to the plane, and right where the line intersects with the plane, there has to be a 90-degree angle. Okay? Determine whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Line M and N, they are right here on the diagram. And for these two, the answer is that they're parallel because the author of the book gave it away. These two arrows on each line means that line M and line N are parallel to each other. So M and N is parallel. And P and Q. P and Q, notice that they intersect right here where the red dot is. And at the intersection, so they're not parallel. At the intersection, this angle, there's no indication that this angle is 90 degrees. The author did not give that to us. So therefore, we draw the conclusion that they are neither. C, line N, which is right here, and line P, which is right there. These two lines, if you look at this relationship here, they intersect, and at their intersection, they form a right angle. Therefore, that's a perpendicular relationship between N and P. Okay? Identify skew lines. Recall that skew lines are lines that are not on the same plane. The two lines cannot be on the same plane, and they are not, therefore, they're not parallel, and they don't intercept with each other either. So let's see. F and G. F and G looks like G belongs to, if we call this parallelogram, this plane, plane A. G is on plane A. Think about plane A as a sheet of paper or your tabletop. And F is like a sword or a line that goes through that tabletop. And it intersects that tabletop A at this point, which is right on G. So F and G are not skew lines because they intersect. Line F and H, F is here, H is here. F and H are obviously not on the same plane because F is hanging over, it's penetrating through plane A, but also F and H will never touch. So these two are skew lines. Example 3, name a plane that appears parallel to B. And we only have two planes, and B and C. In C, you notice that there are, when you have a line that goes through both plane at a right angle at 90 degrees, so plane C appears to parallel to plane B. And name a line that's perpendicular to plane B, and obviously that's line L right here. Line M and line N both are on a separate plane, respectively, but line L is the one that penetrates through both sheets, both planes, B and C, at a right angle. So that's it for 3.1. This is fairly easy as there's little calculation, but fairly abstract, so it requires a lot of thinking and seeing in three-dimensional ways. So make sure that you do enough practices. Thank you, guys.